Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 30th May 2016. The first article here is related to the Jammu and Kashmir and recent events which are happening in Jammu and Kashmir. So if you see the violence of Jammu and Kashmir, it always occurs in the form of waves. So there is a peak and then there is a cooling down period and then there is a peak. And one common thing in this is anti-Indianism. In this context, a new wave of violence or uprising is visible in Kashmir. Now, the central people to this violence are young, unemployed youth of the Kashmir. So, in these circumstances, what are the reasons or what are the recent factors which have led to the rise in violence? One is the Kashmiri floods. Though Government of India acted at its best, but it was not sufficient completely. And in this case, there is some alienation which has grew up in the case of Kashmiris. And during elections, Article 370 it has come into question. BJP in its manifesto repeatedly questioned the relevance of Article 370 and started calling it anarchic. The Kashmiris feel Article 370 is only the living link between India and the Kashmir Valley. And the second thing is, now recently after the Chief Minister Mr. Saeed's death, there was a lot of political vacuum. And there are many ideological differences between the ruling coalition, that is PDP and BJP. So in these circumstances, to win over a coalition partner, the PDP is interested more in, encouraging the struggle rather than looking, or else, controlling it. And the third thing is NIT issue. In Srinagar, between the locals and non-locals, there was a huge violence on a trivial issue. And all this shows that the Kashmir is at the verge of the violence and it is in rise. So in this case, the young population, they are getting more and more attracted to the Hizbul Mujahideen. And Hizbul, which is in dormant stage till date, it is gaining its significance these days. So in this context, the government has to give a due credence to the issues which are happening around. Now, superbug, MCR1. So with regard to E. coli, a bacteria, a plasmid is found, it is called as MCR1. So it is resistant to a drug that is called as colistin. And colistin is considered as a last drug with regard to the chemotherapy again, or else, with regard to the antimicrobial agents, especially bacteria. So in this case, it was identified a decade back, but why is it significant now? Previously, if you take the bacterial structure, you have a DNA within its nucleus. So previously, MCR1 is found due to a mutation in this gene. Now, bacteria also consists of certain plasmids which are DNA containing material in cytoplasm. Now, MCR1, it is due to a new plasmid. So, it means it can be easily transmitted from one bacteria to other bacteria and it is going to rise very fast. So, why this is happening? Indiscriminate use of the drugs, especially the antibiotics are used for the livestock population, and this indiscriminate use is leading to the drug resistance. Now, the private insurance can't heal all. Now, this is again state versus market. The state can provide for the universal health care, markets can't. Let's remember the Amartya Sen statement over here. Either is left or right, in every country, state has played a remarkable role in universalizing the health care. Now, let us compare two countries over here. One is Cuba, where the state health system is prevailing. Other is United States of America, where insurance-based private healthcare system is prevailing. In this, if you take USA, the insurance system has led to the increased cost and decreased access to the people who are in the most need of the health care. Let us see how the insurance system functions. So the insurance system functions on the basis of something called pooling or risk pooling of the resources. It means whenever high risk old age population exists in a pool, then premiums are bound to increase. When low risk population and wealthy population, and then you have this young population, then automatically the premiums will come down. So it means who need the healthcare most? the A group needs the healthcare most. The people who need the healthcare most, who needs the access, for them premiums are going to increase. It means ultimately the access to the healthcare is going to decrease. So that's why the state has to make or have its role in the healthcare delivery. If not, most needy people with regard to healthcare, they will be left out of the healthcare system. And in India, 75% of the people, they have out-of-pocket expenditure for healthcare issues. It is majorly due to lack of proper access to the healthcare system. If you take Government of India, it spends less than 2% of its GDP on healthcare. So in this case, the best solution is a UK's NHS model or the Cuba's model. It is not the United States model. India shall not go on the path of the insurance models. Now, a wash in red ink. Recently, RBI has taken a few steps to tighten the noose on the banks, especially to provide for a proper provisioning norms with regard to the non-performance assets. The first one is every year compulsory asset quality review. In this, the quality of the assets are verified and the stressed assets are classified, and banks have to make necessary provisioning norms. Then only they can declare their profits. Because of this, the SBI itself, it has lost its profits by 66% because it has to provide provisioning to the non-performing assets or stressed assets. Here, non-performing assets or stressed assets means it's repayments or else restructured assets are the stressed assets. Along with that, the people who did not pay for more than 90 days, it comes under the non-performance assets. And the second important change, the political interference is considered as a reason for growing non-performance assets of the banks. In this case, Bank Boards Bureau is being constituted and the top management of the banks will be appointed based on this bureau's recommendation, not through political interferences. And also, the growing NPAs, it shows the existing challenges in Indian economy or else existing worries with regard to the distress with regard to the cement, steel, etc. So in this context, lack of bankruptcy code is also a big challenge to the creditors. So the insolvency and bankruptcy code is on way. So these are the things which we need to understand in reforming the banking sector. Now coming to the smart cities. Now with regard to the smart cities, now there are four important things with ICT is concerned. First is policy on open government data. What do you mean by this open government data? So all the data shall be kept or else made available to the citizens, and based on this an embedded intelligence systems can be developed. And also the smart public spaces with regard to the Wi-Fi and other and charging points etc. have to be developed. And broadband network. So the PAN network has to be developed across the cities to access the internet. Now this is one thing which you need to mug it up or you need to know, because smart city is an important question for this year. Now coming to Indian education, there is TSR Subramanian panel is appointed and it has made some important recommendations over here. So what it says is, as of now, there is no proper evaluation system of schools and colleges. NACC, though it is evaluating under the guidelines of UGC, there is no proper professionalism in it. So in this case, proper evaluation or accreditation agencies shall show their professionalism in giving ranking or status to the various colleges, and based on this autonomy has to be given. If better performing colleges exist, they have to be given more autonomy. And added to that, the no detention policy, it has to be confined up to the class 5. And also the residual classes have to be conducted. What do you mean by residual classes? If a child is falling back in the class, then he has to be given in the special classes to cope up with the other class members. These are called residual classes. And finally, value-based education. These are the various things which are being stressed by TSR Subramanian Committee. Now, navies. The Scorpion is going to be the major naval ship as submarine for India. So as of now, we have kilo-class submarines of Russia. These are going to be more and more replaced by the Scorpions from France. Now coming to urban development funds. If you see the 14th Finance Commission report, more than 87,144 crore rupees are being allocated for basic necessities in the urban areas. Now in this case, Ministry of Urban Affairs is the nodal ministry to distribute it to various cities. But however, most of the cities, they are diverting these funds away from intended purpose. So in this case, some of the cities not even transferring this money in time. So what the Ministry of Urban Affairs is saying is, any money it has to be transferred within 15 days. And the second thing is, if the money is not transferred to urban local bodies within 15 days by the state governments, necessary penalties and interest charges have to be paid. And a review report has to be provided how the funds are being spent. These are the conditions imposed by Urban Ministry. And next is, you know that recently again is the attack on the African students. There is a protest which has been, in a protest, the African envoys did not celebrate the Africa's Day. So in a continuation of this, African Students Union, it wants to conduct a march at the Jantar Mantar. And the second thing is, Sushma Swaraj has intervened and she said that the sensitization campaigns will be undertaken in the localities and the neighborhoods where the African students live. But however, the racism, according to me, is one way or the other way infiltrated into our minds. Now, when you say black money, white money, if you talk about a fairness scheme, or if you, generally we see white as superior or black as inferior. So this attitude has to be changed. So the racial profiling based on the color, this attitude has to come down among the Indians, and preference for white has to be done away with. Now coming to the cloud technology changing the TV ad landscape. So now geo-targeted advertisements are coming up. It means that a channel can advertise based on the local requirements rather than telecasting the same advertisement across the country. So this cloud technology is being very helpful. It is going to change the advertisement landscape in the country. Now coming to the Indian Express, the task undone is an important article. So according to this is the defense procurement policy is announced and special emphasis is made on indigenously designed, developed and manufactured products for procurement. But however, there are certain challenges. So the strategic partners, especially with regard to the private sector, who can be the strategic partners and what are the guidelines are not yet announced. And that's the reason why, though India has a huge requirements of the naval ships and the aircrafts, so the work is not moving forward. And the teeth to tail ratio, as the fiscal deficit has to be decreased, the defense expenditure also is expected to be decreased. So in these circumstances, the teeth to tail ratio mean the number of office staff or auxiliary staff to the forward staff. Forward staff means who are in the fight. So what is the ratio between these two is called as teeth to tail ratio. So in this context, if our defense ministry has to invest more on this equipment or modernization, so it has to decrease its revenue costs. That's why teeth to tail ratio has to be decreased and the funds have to be diverted towards the procurement. So for this, actions have to be taken. So in these circumstances, a committee was appointed, that is Dhirendra Singh committee. So the recommendations need to be implemented. And this article is related to the Shah Faisal. What he says is, so entering into civil services by Kashmiri youth is not against to the Kashmiri interests or is not being taken on the side of the oppression. It is to provide for a good governance, and it is the capability shown by the Kashmiri youth to enter into the mainstream examinations and to clear and to take the opportunities that are available to them. So that's what is the essence of the Shah Faisal's argument. So this is about today's newspaper. Thank you very much. All the best.